Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Backyard Horse Enthusiast. You know, starting a healing practice isn't easy. It takes heart, grit, and a whole lot of determination. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who knows this journey firsthand, fellow equine gestalt practitioner Lexie. The last time I interviewed Lexie, she was just launching her practice. Since then, she's faced challenges that so many heart centered entrepreneurs struggle with: finding clients, believing in herself, and pushing forward when things get tough. In this interview, we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a healing business from the ground up. We'll talk about the roadblocks, the breakthroughs, and the unwavering passion that keeps her going. So, if you've ever felt like giving up on your dreams, this conversation is for you. Now, let's dive in. Hey, Lexi, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, my friend, doing well. Great to see you, and so happy to have you here on the Backyard Horse Enthusiast again, because we're anxious to hear about where you're at. And with that being said, I'm going to dive right in. Because the last time we spoke, you were in the early stages of launching your equine gestalt practice. What has the journey been like since then?
The journey has been a journey of growth and challenge. I am thankful that I am motivated by challenge. And um, with my grooming business, I did not have growing pains at all. Or if they were growing pains, it was the opposite spectrum of the growing pains that I'm having now with my Wild Heart Leads business. And I have been reminded more than once that good things take time and great things will take even longer. And so, with my belief in this work, whatever it takes, I know I'm going to get there. And every client that I see and every class that I offer or workshop that I offer, um, there's healing all around and connection. And the direction and purpose of where I'm going or my intention has been fulfilled with everything along the way, whether I have to dig a little deeper or accept, um, dare I say, failure. And failure, I guess if we don't fail, it's better to fail because you know you're trying than not get anywhere. So, though I still want to come up with a different word, um, I am,
Challenge.
yeah,
I have a
definitely finding,
challenge.
yeah, growth in my struggles and challenges and just continuing to get out there. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, and we know, Lexi, if everything came so easy to us always, right? There were no challenges, we never saw failure. Life would get boring really fast. We'd start doing really stupid things, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
So you mentioned in your Chamber of Commerce bio that you sent me that you were at a crossroads when you found Equine Gestalt. So looking back now, what do you think that experience prepared you for?
Um, I would say, well, right now, the experience of even if we don't know what road we want to be on next, what our next journey is, believing in that inner self, that inner voice saying, um, there's something more. And what is it? How am I going to get there? What am I going to find? And asking for help. I think asking for help in life is a challenge to many. And when I was at that crossroad, I needed to ask for help, and I didn't get my answers right away, but I didn't give up either. And even when the answers were right there, I still found a challenge in taking the next step, which may have been out of fear, mostly out of fear. Um, but there was that piece that just kept coming to me of, you need to take this next step. Not knowing like why or how, and I can't say, I mean, I think deep down I knew the why. I know the why. Um, but taking that next step, I cannot explain the what I didn't know what I was in for, and what I intended to gain, I gained that and more. Um, you know, the reassurance in my purpose and direction. And so I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not, but the crossroad then, which was close to 2.5 years ago, I would say, and probably a little bit even before that. Now I don't feel like I'm at a crossroad. Um, and when I get to the crossroad, my resistance isn't there as much because I know I need to step across it or turn or go straight. Um, that
Hmm.
resistance isn't there.
Nice.
The resilience um, definitely has more power now. So yeah.
Nice. Starting a healing business can be incredibly rewarding, but also at the same time really hard. Can you share some of the biggest challenges you faced in getting your practice off the ground?
Oh, I think no matter what, starting a business is a challenge. Starting a healing business, I feel like one of the most challenging pieces is to, um, I'm trying to think of the right words here, help the client or potential client realize their value in their worth, and taking the time and investing in themselves to get to where they deserve to be. I think that is the biggest challenge is um, helping people understand that they're worth it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. I want to look at the emotional side of entrepreneurship and self-worth while we're there. You spoke in your bio about finding your worth. And how has your sense of self-worth evolved as you've worked through the challenges of launching your practice?
Well, I would say that has been a journey in itself. Um, and I with the bio that you're speaking of, it had to do with who I was known as, pretty much my whole adult life, which is the dog groomer, a very loved dog groomer, and that was a piece I really felt I wanted to let go of. Like there was something
Mhm.
more and I wanted to be more and that wasn't good enough, or um, it just wasn't enough, which isn't true at all. But it wasn't until just recently that I realized, um, not that I didn't know that I was important or am important in that role. Um, it is enough. And there is something more, and that's okay. Um, so before realizing that grooming was enough, it was enough at that time.
Mhm.
And now there's a door open, and I've walked through it to be more than the groomer, to be somebody that not only helps your pets, but helps you as a client. And so self worth is a journey in itself. And I know a couple years ago, loving myself was a big piece of that, and learning to love myself and accept myself for who I am, which, why is that so hard? How can that be so hard?
Hmm.
But it was really hard for me. And no,
Hard for many.
yeah. And um, I have passed like limiting beliefs of selfishness, which has been a hard bridge to cross. Uh, and so when we talk about self-love, that that can be perceived as selfishness, or that's what I thought in my mind.
Mhm.
Um, and that's not true at all. And so my journey of worthiness and self-love and value, and finding my authentic self was one step. Identifying who I am and my purpose, it's one step. Accepting it is a whole nother step. And so I, being on the journey I've been, am so excited and eager to help the clients that come through my barn doors in, helping them identify who they are, um, helping them find their values, which will guide them along their whole journey of life, when we slow down enough to think about it. And sometimes, if those, the building a house, if the foundation isn't strong, things can be harder along the way. And so, um, just really helping people find who they are and loving themselves for who they are, their authentic self, is um, a huge step in true joy.
Nicely put. Yeah, you're right. You can identify it, but accepting it is a whole nother story. So many healers struggle with who am I to do this work? Like, who am I? And you've probably had moments of doubt, right?
Yeah,
How
there's
do
been
you
a
overcome
couple.
that?
Um, I can honestly say that, I mean, yes, definitely been moments of doubt, but the moments of reassurance, and I mean that was like my theme word through this whole last couple years, is believing and knowing that I was put on this path for a reason. And so this, I think, is one of those hard to explain. I know in the last interview we talked about typology, and my part of my typology is being an NF, we say, which my perception of it now is like, oh my gosh, it's so hard being an NF because I think that a lot of NFs can't explain their thoughts and feelings, and other people don't get it.
Yeah.
And so I will say that that's one of the hardest pieces. And the doubt, like, well, it doesn't make sense to the rest of the world. Why would you do this? So the moments of doubt have been there. And the reassurance and the resilience and the belief in what we can help people, um, not necessarily become, because we know that it's there.
Right. We
Um,
are already. We just got to get in
yeah,
there and find it
yeah.
all.
But believing not just in ourselves, but believing in them, for them, those that have invested the time and money to ask for the help that, um, can truly get them to accept their authentic selves when they put their heart and soul in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For
So, yes,
sure.
there's been moments of doubt, but when you believe in something, um, the resilience leads the way.
100%. Sometimes that's what we rely on is just that. That's what pulls us through, right? And
Mhm.
speaking of that, Lexi, when you start to feel overwhelmed by just, and you're a doer, 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 right? When you start to feel that overwhelm, what is it that you turn to? What keeps you going when things just feel like, oh my gosh, not one more thing? Because you clearly
Honestly,
you do keep going.
yes, yes, I do. And I will say there has been a large amount of pause, especially recently, which that was probably one of my most challenging pieces of life in general,
To do
um,
it, you mean to pause?
to pause, because
Yeah.
as a doer, that like that was really hard. However, the bits and pieces along the way have shown me that without pause and without a breath and without, um spending that time with yourself,
Hmm.
um, being calm enough and quiet enough to dig into our feelings,
Listen.
um, yeah, it is a listening skill. And so,
Mhm.
which is a tool that can be hard to find and accept.
Mhm.
Um, but when I feel overwhelmed, or when I feel like, you know, I can't I can't say that I don't want to say that it seems like I can't do anything right, because I don't feel like that too often. But when you're tired, you got to sit down and breathe, and
Mhm.
sometimes shut that mind off. Um, do something for you, even if it's sitting down,
Yeah.
not doing homework and not writing in your journal, which I love doing. But pause is whatever that means to you. Pause.
Yes, that's self-care in to the highest degree. I remember in one of my last courses, Melissa putting her hand on my knee and having me look her in the eye and say, "Look at me. I want you to make a promise. I want you to promise that you will pause. I need you to hit the pause button for a little while. I'm not saying stop, I'm saying pause for your own good and for your health with everything that you have been through this past year. You need to do this." And that was very scary, right? We're trying to outrun our own thoughts, our own, if I just keep busy all the time, it won't. Is it catching up, right? And then we just boom, because we're exhausted.
Hmm.
And it feels very strange to give ourselves permission to just But it could be a few hours, could be an hour, could be a day, maybe even a week, whatever. You come back to it rejuvenated with so much more energy and love and life for what you're doing.
Right.
That was the best advice anyone could. It was strange to hear. And I was like, no, I'll fail. That was my like, what? Are you crazy, Melissa? And I'm like, she's our mentor. I think I should take some heed to this. And I did. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful because I do
Yeah.
it now,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I don't have to worry about me judging me or my perceived, judgers out there. Oh, you lazy thing. You took a day off. Oh, you will fail tomorrow. Watch when you wake up. Oh gosh, darn it. Yeah. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. Thank you for that. That is so, so, so key, especially for the doers that can't allow themselves that space for
Hmm.
that breath. And we
Yeah.
need it,
Hmm.
right? Oh, beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Lexi, your farm and horses are a huge part of this healing work. They're a huge part of it. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure you were an equestrian, obviously, before you loved horses prior to it, but they're an integral part of this.
Hmm.
Can you share with us how they support you, not just in helping clients, but in keeping you grounded?
Hmm. I will honestly say that I do not take full advantage. Um, and I don't mean that in a taken advantage way.
Right.
Um, that is an area that I still need to work on my pause piece and allow them to be there, not just to feed and take care of, though that is something I truly enjoy. And that is a healing piece for me when I go out and they see me and nicker at me. And there's a lot of little pieces that go into that sometimes only a horse person would understand or an equestrian would understand. Um, and they are a huge piece of this work. Um, it's an area of growth I'm still on with accepting them for not only my clients but for myself too.
Yeah.
Um, I know that I would not be who I am without the journey of horsemanship I've had and been on. And one horse in particular, she, I mean, I have so much gratitude for her in helping me learn patience and calming my inner self is where the door opens for us, like for me, but she was the one that helped me truly see that. When you have passion in something, you learn from it, in my experience. And so, yeah, I hope that answered your question in a roundabout way.
It did. Thank you. Yeah, you said it right off the top about, going out and feeding. Yeah, that does. That act in and of itself is so grounding and
Mhm.
you feel that connection to
Right,
them. It really is so uplift. I leave the barn. I might drive towards the barn with some stress from the day and that, but I leave there just, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so blessed, so grateful because I feel freer, lighter, happier. We all benefit from hugging a horse, from being around
right,
them, from breathing in, from their nostrils even, I mean, 5 minutes with Dakota and the world is right again.
right.
Absolutely. You
Yeah,
said it beautifully. Thank you.
yeah, you're
If
welcome.
someone's never experienced equine gestalt before, what do you want them to know about how powerful equine gestalt work is?
I feel like, and I know I speak for many, um, I feel like the power in the work that I offer, the equine gestalt work that I offer, is unlike typical talk therapy, which is diagnostic and analytical. The gestalt work, the equine gestalt work offered here at Wild Heart Leads, you're seen and heard for who you are without judgment. I think that piece is again a huge, it's the foundation of trust built to the gestalt work that is a pivotal shift for life. And what I mean is in gestalt, not only being seen and heard for who you are, um, what comes up in a session when we are honest with ourselves in, trusting the coach you have in front of you and knowing the support of not as much the coach, but as the horse standing there. When you have that big, strong support in keeping you strong, even in your weakest points,
Mhm.
digging into the unfinished business that you might not even know you had, um, honesty brings you to the other side that is the most healing thing of all. And it's one step closer to that authenticity, um, that we were born to be in, seeing that, that again, the steps, the process, seeing like, oh my gosh, I've had this block and barrier for so long. I forgot about this piece of me that is who I am. And
Mhm.
and there's a gift in that piece that can be shared. That, like, that's part of the healing is now you have that piece to you have that opportunity to own and accept that piece of you, and the pieces that heal are more, um oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for, more, there's more opportunity to give to others. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
It does. It does. And don't you think that when you stand with an with a horse who doesn't judge you, who offers so much in the way of support, who's willing to take it and release it for you, to me, that's like standing with God. And I don't want to, keep pivoting this into a, divine and all that, but that's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that God does not judge me. God
Mm-hmm.
loves me unconditionally. I'm tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
And my horse does the same. They're
Yes.
not there to judge. They are so in the moment that it's pure love and it's pure support in the most authentic way. And it allows us to be so emotionally naked and know that
Yes.
we're not vulnerable. We're
Yeah.
not to getting any more hurt, that we are okay in
Yeah.
such a blessed way.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say a couple weeks ago, um, there was a lot of emotions that came up for me, and I did go out to the barn and I took one of my trusted partners, and she, my perception of what she was trying to get across to me was stop putting yourself in a corner. Um,
Mm.
and it's not the first time that that's happened, but to stop putting myself in the corner. So, yeah.
Wow,
And
that message came through for
right,
you.
right. So, um, you know, just as much as we can explain this all we want, and we can explain bits and pieces of our journey. And we as Gestaltists know and accept that our client's journey is not necessarily the same as ours. It could be similar in ways, but it's not the same.
Right.
So, um, knowing that you can show up, clients can show up for themselves and be seen and heard for who they are. So,
Lexi, can you tell us about any standout sessions, either, that really stood out for you, either with a client, with a horse, with a client and horse, or share?
um, that I feel like each session there's been standout moments. Um, and I don't know. I think it's more of a pattern again of reassurance versus anything else. So I can't say that there was one.
I like
Um,
that.
yeah, I think that there's something in each one,
Hmm.
and it's more of a pattern than anything else. So, um, and the trust, there's been a couple clients that at first, you feel and see this reservation wall, this
Sure.
reserved, I don't know her from Adam, and I don't know what I can say or whatnot. Um, but by the end, there's trust earned in some level of trust earned, and then there's clients that trust right off the bat, and there it is.
Sure.
So yeah, so I
I
think
get it.
the power of authenticity and the belief in trust and honesty is a big piece.
100%. If it's okay, I have to share a couple of Gestalt pieces that I did that really did stand out. And you're right, they all do. You walk away from them. You could be dead tired when you walk into a session, right? And then and spend hours with someone and walk away and you're just like floating on air. Like it's just when you see someone stand up and you know that they're leaving in such a better place than when they walked in. It's like you are so elated that it's like you drank 5 cups of coffee and oh my gosh. And I did an anger release in the garage, right, with a client out of group. And she beat the crap out of that. I used a bale of compressed straw and a pool noodle, and she beat the crap. I mean, she did. She cried, she screamed, she hit the ground, and all of that. And she was like, when we were done, she felt great, and she's like, "Well, now I have to go do grocery shopping, and I hate grocery shopping. It makes me really cranky." Well, that week in group, she comes on, she goes, "I just want to say I had the best time I've ever had grocery shopping. I wasn't mad at anyone. I took my time, I relaxed, I was whistling, singing with the music, she was like, "What a different experience." I realized I was not experiencing and living life in it. I was just
Hmm.
mad all the time. I was just reacting to everything and not living in the moment. That was huge. I was so happy for her. So,
Yeah,
or the time a client for the first time, she was sitting outside and it started to flurry, snow flurry, right? And she said, "In all my life, I never looked at snow the way I did the other night, sitting outside and watching the snow come down in complete wonderment and with complete awe."
yeah.
That's how huge and oppressive our feelings and thoughts can be, that we stop living. We're not in the moment
Mhm.
at all.
Right.
So
Yep.
those were just a couple of, yeah. So you're right. Like,
Yeah. And you had said we haven't exactly touched on that in this interview as far as living and living in the present moment. I think society has us, you know, anxious about what's next and what happened then. And truly, we forget to enjoy what's in front of us at this time. And so the beautiful thing of not just or as much a one-on-one session, but I feel like in group offerings, enjoying that present moment, not just individually, but in connection with
Mm.
others,
Mhm.
um, makes it that much more powerful. So yeah, thank you for bringing up the present moment and
Oh,
living.
and living.
And what a, the again, reassurance and it came to empowerment of hearing, you know, what is coming up for a client and then returning with, oh my gosh, I just had to say, after that session, I enjoyed something I never usually enjoy. So, yeah,
And that's truly what living is. Otherwise, we're just at a fast-paced, breakneck speed to get to the end. Is that truly what
right.
living is about? I don't think
Mhm,
so. I
mhm.
don't think so.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
just want to mention to our viewers that if you are at all interested in learning more about Lexie's Gestalt work, that there is a QR code popping around her head there on the screen. Go ahead and scan that QR code. That's going to give you all the contact information for Lexie, her Facebook page, her website, and whatever else Lexie has decided and graced us with sharing. Please, please don't hesitate. Get back to living now. You deserve that. So do it for sure. You will not be sorry. We know what we speak of, right, Lex?
Yes.
We do. Because when we joined the program, when we went for our certification, one of the things that had to happen is we didn't just learn about how to help other people. We had to actually dive in and do our own personal work in order to receive our certification. So we know what it's about. So when you step into that ring with that horse and Lexie, or even myself, or any equine gestaltist, they've been there with you. They've been in the fire, so they understand it. They're not just reading verbatim narrative that they picked up in a course. That's not how we roll in this. It's
Yeah.
very submersive, immersive. We're in it, and we come out like the phoenix from the ashes, because when you're in it, it's not easy, but boy, it's so worth it. So come on, get to living, people. Truly get back to living. If you've never experienced it, time to do it now. Lexie, you mentioned that the turnaround has been tough. What do you think is the biggest barrier for people in seeking this type of healing? What's the biggest barrier? Why are they hesitant or holding back?
I, you know, I'm gonna have to go back to what I said before in, uh, valuing themselves and
Hmm.
the disbelief of maybe, I shouldn't say disbelief in not having the money. It's an intent, yeah, I think it goes back to the self-worth and the value and um, second guessing, is this really going to work? How,
Hmm.
is this really going to work? Um, and I don't know if maybe this isn't where the place to add this or not, but we talked about um, how healing ourselves can help those around us. And that is a huge, fun, enlightening feeling in itself. When we start to heal ourselves, there's a ripple effect of those for those around us. Um, part of it's just positive energy, but safe boundaries and um, being confident in who we are And it, yeah, just healing ourselves helps those around us, the ripple effect.
Absolutely. It brings about an awareness, right, about others. Because once you become aware of of what makes you tick and
Hmm.
why,
Hmm.
you're more able to show compassion to other people because you understand where a lot of it might be stemming
Right,
from, right?
right.
So we are more compassionate with each other. And let's face it, the world needs a lot more of that compassion instead of combativeness. We
Yes.
don't need to be fighting with each other. We need to give each other soft places to land and understanding and love. Um, most definitely. What
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone who is struggling to believe in themselves and take that next step in their life?
Um, Advice. I think before giving advice, I would ask them what one thing about themselves do they love? And um and and what's one thing that they love about their daily life? Um and I would also say until, until we start believing in ourselves, it's hard for anybody else to believe in us also. Um So I think when I'm asked this question as far as giving advice, what advice could we give? Because as a coach, there's different bits and pieces of advice, but really the advice I would say take, don't take a chance, don't take a chance on us because we do believe in you and we do believe we will help you find those little pieces that will turn into big pieces when you find them and when you let them. Um, so my advice would be to get a hold of a gestaltist to help you um, believe in your authenticity and believe in the gifts that you have to share with the rest of the world.
Hmm. Because they're in there. We all have them. We we are come into this world so perfect, truly, right? And it's what we're exposed to from birth that creates who we are, where we stand right now. And it's amazing that when you do parts of this work, that it bleeds into other parts of your life.
Mhm.
Because I can remember being at a core in Colorado with Melissa and all of us students, we were like 3 days in and everybody done some personal work, right? And then deep work, like the third day in, and everybody had done a big piece of work. But in the beginning, when we started the week, everybody was all about what snacks they had, what food, where were we going to dinner, blah, 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 blah. And by the third day in, it's dinner time, and we're all looking at each other. I'm not hungry. Are you hungry? I'm not hungry. I'm not. And then we had this awareness like, oh my God, we've all been medicating our feelings with food and snacks and candy and chocolate and ice cream and stuff and like just being and like for the first time all felt this sense of peace and healing. Like it was intense because
Mhm.
it wasn't just one of us, it was all of us that were like, whoa, what happened? I feel
Yeah,
like a different person. I don't want your chocolate or your Skittles anymore. It's that intense, this
yeah.
work.
Yeah, and I think you sharing about that, as a group, there's a time and place for group work and individual group or
Sure.
individual work. And the the group work has this special sacred piece to it that is nice when, um, as an individual, you don't always know who you can turn to.
Mm.
Um, and when you start to become a part of a group in this work and heal together, it's a sacred
Oh,
piece that you don't, I've never found anywhere else.
yeah. Yeah. When you sit with each other in your pain with each other, supporting each other, not, there's no judgment. That's it. You just feel so heard, seen, and safe.
Hmm.
That, yeah, how hard is it to leave when we would have to leave our training and go
Hmm.
back out into
Oh,
we had better ways to
yeah,
deal and get through it, but it was almost like culture shock because you're with this group that, again, you feel seen,
yeah,
heard, and not judged. That it's a beautiful connection that you never forget. And I'm sure many people, all of us, there's 300 plus of us too, as well as everyone that we work with as clients, that bond is probably for life,
yes,
not
yes, I
going
agree.
anywhere.
I 100% agree. And, you know, as I look into future offerings and am still creating so much, um, one thing that's always been one thing I've been aware of is myself appreciates, I would say, at bare minimum, a seasonal connection group. Um, as a gestaltist, I would love to go to our continuing education offerings once a season, which sometimes it doesn't fall that way, right? But to offer something to my clients on a seasonal basis, in time is something that is on the intention list.
Oh,
So
that's
anybody
beautiful.
interested, I can get you on the list.
Absolutely. And if you want to be on that list, folks, you just scan that QR code that's hanging about by Lexie's face somewhere on the screen and get in contact for sure. I love that idea. I think it's beautiful because it is hard to let things end, so to speak, right? So you run a 12-week course and then, oh my gosh, it's over. In some of my groups, they didn't want it to be over. They were
Yeah,
begging to get into the next. Come on, let me in the next group. I don't mind. I'll do the work all over again. I don't want to stop. And
yeah,
I love that. And then we do every couple of months, we do a get together on Zoom to just check in and
yes,
see how
yeah,
everybody's doing. It's
yeah,
beautiful. Our
yeah.
work is beautiful, people. So if you want to know more, scan that QR code and get some more information. Connect with Lexie. You can connect with me. I'll connect you with Lexi, however you want to do it. But don't wait. You owe it to yourselves to just start living your true, authentic life now. And it starts with you. Lexi, on that, I want to thank you for being here again. I'm so happy and grateful that you agreed to come back and give us an update on what you're doing. And in the future, we're going to do another one and find out where you're at because we'll be excited to see how that journey is going. And until then, be well, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you.